Okay, welcome everyone. A good Chodesh. As now we go into Elul proper, and Yetzer Hashem, the shir tomorrow night will be all about Elul inspiration. Elul Gems 5784. That's going to be the shir, and with Hashem's help, I will be broadcasting the shir from the Agudas Yisrael of Fairways, our flagship station, as hopefully I will be back in time for the daf and the shir. Anybody that lives in the radius of the Agudah, please come down in person. None of this I'll be in the house stuff. Give your wife a good book to read. And yes, and let's go. Okay. You send me a text that you're coming, and I'll let them tell them that you're coming. Okay, we are sponsored by the A.B. Spry and family for nachas from children and grandchildren, by Shalom Fogel, Nishmis Yaakov Zev ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef ben Sion ben Yaakov Zev, by Baruch Ian, Nishmis Yaakov Chaim ben Abba Esther Bas Gittel, Avram ben Shmuel HaKohen ben Yaakov Yamansky, with Akos HaToif to the Rav and the Zoom family and nachas from children and grandchildren, by Ed Salah from London, Joshua Rosenberg. We are hoping that Shimon Klein is doing better after his surgery today. Shimon Yehuda ben Gittel. Unfortunately, we learned the Ilui Nishmas Jeff Miller. I know his name is Yosef ben Rivka. I don't know his father's name, but his neshama should have a big aliyah. That was a great loss for Staten Island. He was one of the founding people of the Staten Island community and very beloved by everyone. We have the pleasure of welcoming in Mark Frankel and welcoming in Shimon Deer and Yisrael Fisher. I don't know where he is.
I'm in Monroe, and they threw me out of shul because I had a smartphone.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. They asked me to leave.
Wow.
Well, they didn't ask me to leave. They just said no smartphones. So. You've been kicked out in a better place.
You should have told them that your phone is not smart. I
have a filter, so that's probably, I don't know. So I'm sitting outside.
Okay. We welcome in Baruch Ian. In the shul we have Michal Avram, Rich Leonard, and Ruvain Shannon. Stephen Holtzman, Gedalia Engel, Marshall Castle, Irving Fishbaum, Ruvain Pollack, Yitzi Fuchs, Barish Gesserman, and Menachem Umansky, Chaim Kramer, Nachman Chaplin, Michael Lehman, Shelley Zeitlin. We wish you a full shalom, Shelley, Ilya Shutman, Yitzi Muller, Naftali Jablin. And we are holding the bottom line of Daf Samach Tes Amud Beis. So if Mark is selling to Marshall land, and he says chutz me'ilnei, except for the trees, he doesn't keep all the trees. Amarav kol she'oilin loy bechevel. If the tree is so big that you have to climb up a rope in order to get the fruit, and this is of course talking about a date palm, because a date palm doesn't have branches, so you have to climb up with a rope, then have a shear. That he didn't sell to Marshall. Kol she'ein oilin loy bechevel. But if it's a sapling that you don't need to use a rope, then loy have a shear. That he didn't keep for himself. The judges of the diaspora, which we know we've already had before, Shmuel and Karna, the great Shmuel and Karna, they say kol she'ol kafshay, if it's so supple and so young that the earl is kafshay, that the yoke, if it passes it, bends it down, then avishir. Then lo avishir. That that he didn't keep for himself. Kosher ain't oil kaifsha, if it's so sturdy and strong that if the yoke brushes by it, it doesn't bend by the yoke, have a shear. That he kept for himself. And the Gemara says, well, like plea, the Daine Goyla and Rav, they're not arguing. Rather, hobadik, like one is a date palm. So a date palm, if it's big, you use a rope. If it's small, you don't use a rope. By trees, you never use a rope because even if it's a big tree, you could shimmy up the branches. So there, the determining factor is if it's young and it would be pushed down by the yoke, then that he doesn't keep for himself. If it's more sturdy, that he keeps for himself. Now, as we welcome in Mel Zachter for our 24th Zoomer of the young evening, Boimine Rav Acha Bar Huna Merev Sheshes. Rav Acha Bar Huna inquired of Rav Sheshes. Let's say Mark tells Marshall, Chutz mecharub ploini, except for this grafted palm tree. Now, normally when you sell a field, you don't sell any grafted palm trees. Or he says, Chutz misadan ploni, except for this pruned sycamore tree. Now, normally you don't sell any. Mao. Do we say that since he singled out only one, it's only that carob, it's only that sycamore tree that Marshall doesn't get, Hoshar charuvim kani, but the other carob and sycamore trees he does get. Oidilma shar charubim nami loikani, he doesn't get any. He singled out one. It must be that he's singling it out, a yitur lashon, to say that he wants to reserve the right of way to that carob tree or to that sycamore tree. Amalei, so the Gemara says, indeed, Marshall doesn't get any of them. Amalei loikana. Eisvei, and the Gemara says, well, it seems to be not that way. Eisvei chutz mecharoi ploni. If Mark says, except for this specific grafted carob tree, chutz misaden plain, this specific pruned sycamore tree, loikana. Now, doesn't that sound like Marshall doesn't get just that one? My love, oisei charov hu de loikana. Only that grafted carob tree doesn't get. Hashar charuvin kana, he gets the rest of them. Amalei loy. When he says loikana, afilu shar charuvin nami loikana. He doesn't get any of the carob trees. Teda, you should know, and here's the logic. Di'ilu amalei, let's say Mark will tell Marshall, Sodai, Mark has many fields. You know, Mark is a man of a lot of assets. Mark has many fields. If he says, Sodai mechurulach, now Sodai is in the singular. I'm selling you my field, chutz misada plainis, except for the field on the corner of Broom Street. Hahihu delaikani, is it only that field that Marshall doesn't get? Ha'akernisa kani, does he get all the other fields? No. He just said, Sadai mechurlach, I'm selling you one field. Elalaikani, he doesn't get any of his fields. Hakanami here, when he says except for this carob tree, he doesn't get laikani, he doesn't get any of the carob trees. Now, the Gemara tells us, ups the ante. It ups the chiddush. The ikadam, right? Boimine Rav Acha Bar Huna Merev Sheshes, chutz mechatzi carob ploini. He tells Marshall, I'm selling you the field except for half of this carob tree. Chutz mechatzi sadan ploini, except for half of this pruned sycamore tree. Now, all the other carob trees he doesn't get. Shar charubim vadi loikani, because as we said, when you sell a field, you don't get the grafted carob trees. You don't get the pruned sycamore trees. But here he said except for half. Doesn't that imply that the other half he does get? He said except for half of this carob tree, but the other half Marshall gets. Even even the other half of the carob tree, nami loikana. Even though the Rashbam says there is really no reason why he should have said except for half, but it makes no difference. He doesn't get the other part either. Amalei, so the Gemara says, you're right, loikani. And this is not just because it's marshal. You don't get it. You sell a field, you don't get the grafted carob trees. Eisvei, so the Gemara says, it says, chutz mechatzi chara pliny, chutz mechatzi sadin pliny, except for half of the carob, except for half of the sycamore, shar charuvin loikana. Marshall doesn't get the other carob trees. Doesn't that imply he doesn't get the other carob trees, he doesn't get the other sycamore trees, but the other half he doesn't get? My love, shar charuvin udaloikana. The other carob trees he doesn't get, hamash shaya ba'isachar, but the other half kana. Amalei loy, no. Afilu mashishai ba'isachar nami loy kana. Even the other half he doesn't get. Teida, you should know, the ilu amalei sadai mechurlach, my field is sold to you, chutz mechatzi sada plain, except for half of the field on Benedict Avenue. He only doesn't get that half. The other half he does get? Of course not. He only said he was selling him one field. Elaloikani. So Hachanami, where he says except for half of the carob tree, he doesn't get the other half either. Hachanami loikani. Now the Gemara starts a new sugya. Now, you got to pay attention over here. Boy minei Rav Amram and Rav Chisda. Rav Amram inquired of Rav Chisda, Hamafkir eitzel chaveiroi b'shtar. Mark deposits a Staunton chess set, and it's an antique, valued at $4,900. And he deposits the chess set by Marshall. Now, of course, Mark is an astute fellow, and he doesn't trust Marshall. So he makes Marshall write him a document that he accepted as a deposit a antique Staunton chess set valued at $4,900, and Mark has that document. So Mark could sleep in the night because he has a document that says that Marshall has the deposit. So again, Hamafkid Eitzel Chaveiroi Bishtar. Mark deposited by Marshall a Staunton chess set, and Mark holds a proof that Marshall is holding his deposit. Mark comes to Marshall, could I have my chess set back? No, starts the headache, starts the nightmare. And Marshall tells him, I already returned it to you. Now, what would all of us say? We would all say, cut it out, Marshall. Mark has a shtar. If you returned it to him, you should have ripped up the shtar. Right? What's the din? I mean, we would we would say, there's nothing to talk about. Not so fast. Not so fast. Slippery, conniving, slimy Marshall has a migu. What's his migu? He could have claimed that lightning hit the house and shattered this chess set. He could have claimed that there was a mudslide and it fell out of the window. In other words, even if he was a shomer sacher, a paid custodian, he could claim there was an einus, and then he would be believed. Because Mark, he's not denying, Mark has a shtar, so what? He says there was an einus. And since he could claim that it was an einus, so why does he have to lie? So he's believed to say he returns it, notwithstanding that Marshall has a shtar. Marshall is, you see that Mark has a shtar. Do you see the steam coming out of Mark's ears? You see that? Mi amrinan, do we say, migu, di'i by amar nensu. He could have said that lightning destroyed it, Mammon, he would be believed. So hashtanami Mammon, because malo the shaka, why would he lie? So he's believed to say he returned it. The shtar, he forgot to tear up the shtar. Oy dilma amalei, we tell him, look, if you claimed there was an einus, you would be believed. But there ain't no einus here. You're claiming that you returned it. If you returned it, why does Mark still have the shtar? Amalei, so the Gemara says, Mehemen. Marshall is believed. He has a migo. So the Gemara says, yeah, but what about the taina v'leimalei shtarcha b'yodi my boy? What about the taina? Then why does Marshall have the shtar? If you returned it, then you should have ripped up the shtar. Why does Mark have the shtar? If you returned it, you should have ripped up the shtar. Amalei, so the Gemara says, according to you, v'chi amalei nensu, if Marshall would have claimed that it was an einus, right? Armed bandits came and stole it. It was an einus. Mi matzi amalei shtarcha b'yadi my boy. Then he wouldn't be able to say, "What's your?" Then Mark wouldn't be able to say, "Why do I still have the shtar?" Because then he's exempt because it was an einus, and therefore he's believed with a migu. Amalei. So the Gemara says, yeah, but saif at the end, ki amalei nensu. If he would claim that there was armed robbers, wouldn't he have to swear? Lav shvua boy, wouldn't he have to swear? Hakanami, if he says he returned it, at least he should have to swear. Hakanami, my neman bishvua. So that's the psak of Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda paskins that Marshall is believed to say he returned it, but since even if he would have claimed there was an einus, he would have to swear. So where he says he returned it, he also has to swear. Says the Gemara, Lema beplukta dahani tanoi. Let's say it's totally in the machlokes of the following tanoi. And now we talk about one of our subjects that we learned extensively in Masechtas Bava Metzia. And that's the subject of Iska. Iska is a business on consignment. So let's pick over here a financier, an investor. Barish. Barish is tonight's investor. He invests with a managing partner whose name is Chatzkel. So he gives Chatzkel $1,000 worth of pickleball rackets. Gives it to him on consignment, and they're going to split the profit. Good rackets, good rackets. The top of the line, the Edge racket. It's a very good racket, top of the line. And Barish gives $1,000 worth of rackets. It's not so much. It's 5 rackets, but he gives $1,000 worth of rackets to Chatzkel. And the din is that they'll split the profits. Now, just to tell you how it works, in a classic iska, The din is that it's chatzi pikadon, chatzi milva. That means that they both accept half the profits and half the losses. So half of it is a loan to Chatzkel, and half of it is a deposit to Chatzkel. Now, Chatzkel dies. Chatzkel dies, and Chatzkel's son, Shelley, Berish comes and he says, I want my investment. I want my $1,000. I didn't get any profit. I want what the consignment, the $1,000. The question is, are the assignment believed to say that our father returned it to you? Now, Berish is a careful man, and Berish gave the consignment with a star. He gave a consignment with a star. So what's the din over here? So, on the half that's a loan, the father would not have been believed to say, I returned it to you. Because on a loan, you can't say, you don't have a migu that you could say that it was an einus. Because even in an einus, you have to pay a loan. On the half of the deposit, if we hold like Rav Chisda, so on the half of the deposit, the father would be believed to say, I returned it to you, because he could have said that it was an einus. So in that case, it should be believed. So let's see what the Gemara says about this case. Detanya, shtar kis, a document about a business arrangement. Hayoytze ali yisayim. It's now put out to Shelley, who's an orphan. Both Shelley's parents are alive, are gone, so it's not a problem to say that. So shtar kis hayoytze ali yisayim, a document of consignment that's presented to the orphans. Amrei, Nishba, they could swear, right? They could swear that they didn't receive the money. And V'goy v'kulay, excuse me, not the other way around. Right? The Chatzkel is presenting to Shelley that he didn't get back, that they didn't get back any of the $1,000. So the Daine Goyla Imre, Nishba, Chatzkel could swear. I'm sorry. Why am I mixing you up so much? Berish was the investor. So Berish could swear that he didn't get any of his money. V'goy v'kula, and he could collect all of it. V'daine Eretz Yisrael Imre, and the Dayanim of Eretz Yisrael say Nishba, Berish could swear v'goy v'machza, and he could collect only half. So everybody holds that the half of the loan he could swear and collect, because on the loan there's no question, because there's no migu that you could claim that it was an einus, so you're not believed to say it was paid. So the question is about the other half, about the half of Pikadon. Do we hold like Rav Chisda that the person is believed to say he would be believed to say nensu, that it was an einus, so therefore he's also believed to say that it was returned, even though Berish still has the shtar in his hand. So the Gemara says, let's see it inside. The Kule Alma Islu de Nardoi. Everybody holds of Nardoi. This was the background information that I gave you. The Imre Nardoi Hai Iska. This kind of consignment arrangement is Palga Milva or Palga Pikad. It's half a loan and half of a deposit. Now, in the half of the loan, the father would not have been believed to say he returned it because he has no migu. He can't say that an accident happened because even if it's an accident, you have to pay it. Maila ba'akamifri. The mar savar motzi amalei shtarcha biyadi my boy. That the Berish could say, if your father returned it, why do I have the document? And therefore he could collect even the half that's pikadon. Omar savar loy. And the other one holds no, because since the father would have been believed to say on the half of pikadon that it was an inus, he's believed to say also that he paid it. Imre loy. The kuli alma yislu Rav Chisda. Everybody holds like Rav Chisda that normally the person is allowed to say that I returned it or I paid it because he could have said that it was an inus. But the one that says that only half, the mar savar im isa de pare, if the father paid it, then he should have told the Yisayimim that he paid it. Meima hava amar, he should have told the Yisayimim that he paid it. Umar savar, no, maybe death chapped him. Umar savar ema malach hamavis who the ansay death chapped him, and he didn't have a chance to tell the Yisayimim. So now let's see what the halacha is. Shalach Rav Huna bar Avin, hamafkid eitzel chaveiroi b'shtar. This is back to our case where Mark deposits the Staunton chest set by Mark. V'amaloi, and Mark says, Herzartiv lach, even though a marshal says, I returned it to you, even though Mark is holding a shtar. Neman. Because we say that since Marshall could claim that it was an inus, he's believed to say that he returned it. On the other hand, Berish, who produces a investor's note on the orphans, Nishba v'goyve kulay, he could swear and collect everything. Now the question is, why could he swear and collect everything? If the father would be believed on the half of the pikadon to say that he returned it, because he has a miku that he could have said there was an inus, so then why could Berish collect the half that's a pikadon? The Gemara therefore says, Tarte, that's a stira. Says the Gemara, Shani Hasam, it's different over there like we explained, because we say that we don't make the claim that we don't make the claim that the father paid it back, because if he did, he should have told it. He would have said it, and since he didn't say it, we don't make that claim. Rava Amar, Hilchasa, the law is Nishpa v'goyve machza. The law is that Berish, the investor, could swear and collect half from the Yorshim, from the Yisayim. He could collect the half that was the loiva, that was the loan. Because on that, the father wouldn't have been believed to say, I paid it, because on the loan, he doesn't have a migu. But on the other half, he would have been believed to say, he paid it. So Marzutra said, Hilchasa k'dainei goyla. The law is like the dainei goyla. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? The dainei goyla say that Berish could collect everything. You can only collect half, while the dainei goyla say that the investor could collect everything. Amalei anan the dainei goyla ibcha masninallah. I learned the dainei goyla different, opposite, that the Dainagolas say that you can only collect half, and therefore they're the same opinion as Rava. Okay, now we're going to do the Mishnah Yomis. I want to remind you that tomorrow we have a special share on Elul. So you could invite friends, tell them to bring their his Iris notebooks, as we will learn an extremely important share about Elul, and that takes place at 8:15 in Yirtzeh Hashem, broadcasting from the Agudas Yisrael of Fairways Lakewood. I hope to see everybody in Shul, and we now learn the Mishnah Yomis.